All right, thanks for everyone for being here. Appreciate it on a holiday week. Go ahead and pop any questions in the Q&A so that we can get a good flow going. I want to make sure that I am talking about things that you care about and not just things that I think of. So as many questions as you can in the Q&A, no matter how big or small they are. It doesn't have to be about features. It could be about the new pricing plan. It could be about the direction of the company. It could be about anything that you want, we will answer today. So the first comment in here, somebody let us know that they've been on OTC for a year, talking about they upgraded to the Grow plan, interested to see what features are included in the Grow plan. And then they're not using smart blocks yet. So let me go into that first. That's kind of a good place to start. So one of the things that's included in the Grow plan, which is one of my favorite things actually, when I first started and when we first started building this out, me and Shane kind of as just a thought. I would get in here and I would build all this stuff and then I would go to delete something and I had no clue in the system. If I deleted this field, what would happen? Because it could be connected to so many other things. And so one of the things that Shane built for us is the ability to come in here and this little inspect button, we call it the Introspector. So if you hear me say that, that's what this button is. This Introspector is really important because as you get more complex in the system, you start building out smart blocks and task templates and email templates and all this stuff where a field could be. Some people were accidentally coming in, well, not accidentally, they're coming in here and thinking they don't need a field and they're going ahead and deleting it and then adding a new field. One of the things I would say is if you can repurpose that field, that's a better way to go than deleting and adding. The only reason is because if you update a field, it will update throughout the system wherever that field is. So if you have that in as a merge field somewhere in an email template, it's going to update from, let's just say it's contract acceptance date and you want to change the name of it to contract acceptance. People were actually deleting that and then adding a new field. Well, that breaks every single merge field, every single smart block that you have conditional on that. So we added this button. You can come in here and click on this button and now it's going to tell you everywhere where this field is. So no more worrying about if I delete this field, what am I going to screw up? Now all you have to do is hit this. Now this is on the version 2 pricing. So if you are on premium add-on, or, well, those are the only two now because I'm ending the beta on the automation. But if you're on the premium or premium add-on, you will not see this button. You do need to upgrade to the Grow or Pro plan on the new pricing. So if you go to our new pricing, open2close.com/V as in Victor 2 /pricing, you will see the new pricing. That's also under the pricing tab on our homepage. There are some additional features on each of the plans. It's an additional $30 a month on the premium plan. On the premium add-on, it's an extra $31. And on the scale plan, it's an extra $31 as well. So, so now I can come in here and see where this field is. I can say, oh, I don't want to delete this out yet because I need to go and take a look at this email template, these task templates, these smart blocks. And now I have a full picture of everything that this field is involved in. Now, as we go on with the system, we'll probably put some more of these introspectors around the program so you can see where other things are, but fields was definitely the most important to tackle, and that's why we did that one first. Okay, so that's one of the things on the new Grow plan. The other thing is subtasks. This is one of the most requested things that we've had in the system. So let me move the camera out of the way here. Okay, if I come over to tasks, and I apologize for the delay. We are on Zoom. Okay, so here are your subtasks. So when I click on these subtasks, you're going to have tasks in here. So I can type in subtask 3, subtask 4. And then if you want to arrange these, you can pull them in different orders. You can't put notes on them. You can delete them. Now, one thing I will say about these, they don't have all of the options like a regular task has. You can't send triggers from these. You can't pin it to the top. You can't do some of those things. This is our first pass at subtasks. We just wanted to get it in here because there's so many requests for it. So as we go on and get suggestions on these things, we probably will build more functionality around subtasks, but it gets really hairy in our system because we are so connected in our system. So everything that we do, we have to thoughtfully think through and make sure that every single connection is thought of when we add something new to the system. So yeah, subtask is like a checklist, Joe. It's like, hey, what do I have to do before I can check off this task? And so if it's, let's just say it's, I I don't know, call the seller for the weekly update meeting. Well, under there, you may say, I want to prepare my comps. I want to have my showing report ready. I want to show them any houses that went pending in the area, you know, blah, blah, blah. And so then you can check off these tasks and feel confident that it's time to go ahead and check off this main task because you have those subtasks done. So subtasks is one of the things. The other two that I'll point out, there's a couple other little things you'll see here and there that are an advantage to you, but the four big ones are going to be the introspector, the subtask, the commissions. So in commissions, I can create a commission report now. I can name this. Okay. And then actually, I'll just go into one that I already have set up so you can kind of get an example. You can put your logo in here. You can, we're going to give you the ability to rename this part up here. Right now, you can't do that. You can add widgets, which are basically just fields. Like you could add the closing date here if I wanted. Like I could say closing date, and then I could say I want to add a field here. I want to go ahead and add that widget, and then I can choose my field I want to show up, and then any value in that field will show up in the widget. Now it won't look like this. It'll look better when you actually do the PDF. It'll be more of a report type form, but this is so that you can add widgets, you can rearrange them, you can do whatever you want. Now down here is really cool. It's going to pull the purchase amount. And then down here, you can say like my GCI, what's my GCI is 3.5% of this on this transaction. So here it is. Then I want to break out 10% to the broker, 90% to the team. Then I can further break out the team and I can say 50% is going to my whatever. This shouldn't be team. This should be like agent or something. So I can change that. None of these are hard coded, so it's very custom, which is a nice thing. A lot of systems will hard code things and make you adhere to what they think is necessary. All these are totally custom. And then what you can do is you can come in here and say, once this value shows up here, where do I want to sync it to? So I can sync it back to a field. Okay, so you can sync it back to, like, let's just say, you can do the math operator too. So you could say, what is the split? 50%. Well, that can go back to the buyer agent split. The calculation can go back, and then the sync split total can go back to a field as well. So you can build this out as far as you want. There's no limit on the number of things here. You can see that the agent's getting paid, the ISA is getting paid, the showing agent's getting paid, you know, whatever. So that's a major upgrade. So there's no more like TC workflow where we used to calculate in the fields. Now you can come and make these custom reports. Now on the Grow plan, you're going to be able to do it manually on the transactions. On the Pro plan, you're going to be able to save templates. So you can just upload a template. I think you get 3 templates or 4 templates or something like that on the Pro plan, I think 3. And then on the Scale plan, you get unlimited templates. And then you can have unlimited number of these in a transaction. So if you wanted to make one of these for your bookkeeper, one of these for the escrow agent, and one of these for your team, different calculations, obviously, that are important to those 3 people, you could do that if you're on the Pro plan. Let's see here. Yeah, so Joe, I think I just answered your question, but no templates on the Grow plan. There are limited templates on the Pro plan, unlimited templates on the Scale plan. But you can do these in the transaction on the Grow plan. So you can do these manually in the transaction. All right. And then the last thing I want to point out is the reporting. Also limited functionality depending on what plan you're on, but the reporting, you can come over here. Let's say I want to report on contract status. Sorry, we've been playing around with these. Let me get to a better one here. Let's go to, actually, I'm going to change transaction status and show you how to do this. So you'd add a widget. You can come down here and say, I want to see all my active. I want to see my pending. I want to see my canceled, and I want to see my closed. Okay. You come back in here and you build the report. And there you go. So now we have an agent in here. So Peter has 0 closed. Peter Griffin, who is a TC, you can report on the TC or the agent. Okay, so you have those. You can do a bar graph, a line graph. You can do it by a certain date range. If you click in here, you have all your date ranges, and they will update now. Well, not yet, but they will update for this date range when the new update comes out in probably like a week. So that's in there. You can do any date range you want, and then you can have these set. One of the things we probably will do in the future, it's a big build, so it'll probably only be on the scale plan, but you will have the ability to send a link to someone that's outside of open to close so that they can see this widget, and then you can give them access for 30 days or forever or whatever you want. So this is great. On the grow plan, you're going to have one snapshot, okay, one of these, and then 4 widgets. So you'll be able to report on 4 things. On the pro plan, you'll be able to have 3 pages or 3 snapshots and 4 widgets on each page. And then on the scale plan, you will have unlimited snapshots and unlimited widgets. All of this can be sent out to other places as well. So if you don't want to report in open to close, you can send this information out to Google Sheets or Databox or whatever, grow.com, any of these places that do reporting. You can send this data through the fields and through other things in our system out to those programs so that you don't even have to use our reporting. But if you want to use our reporting, it's here, and it's very flexible because you can report on any field. So if you want to report on, let's just say escrow officer, how many times you're sending someone over to an escrow officer, all you're going to have to do is add a field. So once you add a field, that's how we're reporting on things for the time being. You can come over and select any custom field. So I could create a custom field called peanut butter, and I can report on that field called peanut butter. So whatever you guys want, we tried to make it as flexible, scalable as possible. Okay. So hopefully that answered your question about the Grow Pro. We can get more into the difference between the Pro and the Scale too later. I'm sure it'll come up as we're going through some of these features. Okay.
One of the things you can call attention to, Andrew, would be the change log, because we did do a little kind of a snippet there. Just if anybody's wanting a refresher, they could take a look there. Plus, we are going to be working on really keeping that up to date. So just thought we'd call some attention to it.
Yeah, I didn't even know this was in here. So thank you to whoever did that. Yeah, so we won't have every little change in here, just so you guys know, but we will try to keep this as up to date as possible with major changes in the system. So here you go. Here's a link to the pricing. Here are some of the features. And then here's the pricing plan. Subtasks is in here. It gives you a little summary of that. What do we got? Oh, contact ownership. That was a big one where now you can assign contact ownership to someone on your team. You can also give visibility to all your TCs of everything that the agent's submitting, a bunch of different things there with content. You can read over that and see what that's all about. So yeah, changelog. Thank you, Matthew. Appreciate that. Okay, let me read over this next question. Our transaction coordinator and marketing specialists have access to all active and pending properties, but they have separate task lists. Somehow marketing specialist has access to all tasks, although we only give her access to marketing tasks. How do we separate the roles so they don't see each other's tasks? Sure. So let me go through that real quick. I'm over here, and down here in this little, I'm sorry, it's in the hammer icon. There's a thing called filters. When you go over to filters, here are your roles, right? So, oh, I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong roles. So I'm going to hit Control O and go over to the organization screen. And then under your teams, you have these people. So what I'm assuming is that these people are on the same team because they need to see the same transactions. So if I'm wrong, go ahead and type that really quick in there for me. But yeah, we're going to assume that. So in here, if I go to my 3-person team, you have all your roles. And now the way we think about roles, we want to think about 10 or 15 years in advance. I want to think about where you're going to be when you're selling 10,000 homes a year or a month. You know, that's we're looking big, right? So we're looking now, if that's not your thing and you're just looking for time savings so you can spend more time with your family, then maybe you don't need to do this, but I would still do it just in case you change your mind in the future. So think about if you're at 5,000 transactions a month, how many roles are you going to need? And you want to create all those people in here. Now, right now, when you're a 1-person team, you're everyone. You wear all the hats in the business. So all you have to do is just check all these boxes. The reason why we say to do this up front is because as you hire someone, so let's just say that I hire let me check these and act like, you know, right now I am everyone, right? And let's assume these 2 people really aren't here right now. But I hire Peter and he's going to take over my document, email, listing, and listing coordinator, listing manager role. So those hats are being taken off my plate because I just hired this person. Now all you have to do to get these taken away from your tasks is come over here and make sure that these get unchecked. So I don't even know which ones they were. I think it were these 2 and maybe these 2. But anyway, you uncheck these, you check them on the new person, uncheck here. And as long as so this may be the missing piece for you. And let me come over here to the templates. Let me come to task templates. Make sure in your task templates, and you can expand all these. So like hit this button here, this will expand all of them. Make sure that your roles are set up correctly. So if this is a marketing task, you need to make sure that you're assigning the role for, I don't even know if I have a marketing person in here. I don't, but I'll put it back on. I don't even know what it was on, but we'll just put it on that. So just make sure that the correct role, whoever's doing that, is assigned here in the roles. Now, we don't assign people. We're not assigning Andrew to this task because Andrew may get hit by a bus tomorrow, or Andrew may go out on maternity leave or paternity leave or whatever. So we want to set it up as a role. And now if something happens to me and I can't come into work tomorrow, I'm sick, I get hit by a bus, whatever happens, it's really easy because now I can just come over to my organization screen and I can come to my teams, and let's just pretend that Andrew is Adam. Let's just pretend I'm Adam. I can come over here and I can literally just uncheck these boxes and I can check them on someone else, and they have access to all of my tasks. Now that's if it's a permanent change, I would uncheck those. If it's just a daily change, another way to do that would be to give that person access to impersonating. That's under the permissions. And they can come here and someone can log into my account as me, and they can take care of my stuff looking at my account as it was me doing it. So a couple of different ways to do that. Hopefully that answers your question. Hopefully that gives you a little lead to go on, Laura. If that doesn't solve it, go ahead and email support, or later in this, if you can check that real quick and get back to me, you can post another question. If you don't have time to do that, go ahead and just post it to support, and we'll walk through some of those troubleshooting methods with you and try to figure out why that's happening. But that's probably what's happening, is the roles aren't set up right on your tasks. Okay.
Another thing too, I just know that this is something that people like, is on the task pipeline. You can set filters for a specific team or specific user. So if you're not like inside of a transaction, you can narrow down the filters if you have the role set up correctly to a specific person. So that could be another option that's helpful as well.
Cool. The other thing you just reminded me of, what was it? Oh, make sure that when you're in the transaction or in your intake form, okay, here, I'm kind of bouncing around because I'm thinking about a million things. So sorry. But in the intake form, this is going to be assigned to a certain team, right? So like, actually, this may be a better representation. Let's go back over to your organization screen and come under agents, and we'll go under Brian. And we'll go into Brian, and we will go to his forms. And we will see when Brian fills out buyer intake form 1, it is going to the Acme Realty Boise team, okay? So if he fills out the intake webinar, then it's going to the 3-person team. So you can check and see where these intake forms are going to and who they're assigned to see who is on that team and who's actually going to be assigned. Because basically what happens is this team gets assigned to it. What the system is doing is it's going back to the organization, well, it's going back to the team, and it's saying, okay, the 3-person team was assigned to this task, or I'm sorry, to this transaction. This task is assigned to the email specialist on this team. So it's going to scan here and say, who's the email specialist? Boom, Peter. And it's going to assign Peter to that task. That happens in literally milliseconds. But I just want to walk you through that process so that you know that basically the system is looking at the team assigned to the transaction. Then they're looking at the role on the task. And then it's coming over to the team to find who's assigned to that role. If Adam and Peter and Stewie all have that role attached to them, because there are circumstances, very few, but there are some circumstances where you want multiple people attached to the same task, you can have them all as that one role, and all of them will appear assigned to that task. Now that gets super confusing and it creates more trouble than it's worth most of the time. If 2 people are assigned to a task, usually it's not assigned to anyone, because one person could be thinking the other person's going to do it. The other person thinks that you're going to do it. It gets very confusing. So be very sparing when you're assigning those double assignments to one task. So hopefully that was clear as mud. Okay, I'm going to actually skip down on a couple of these because I think some things are coming in about what I'm talking about now. Let's see what this one says. please add a feature to not be able to check off another user's task if they aren't assigned to the role. That's difficult because that would be handled in permissions, and that would be handled by they shouldn't even see things that aren't their role. So if you properly assign them to the roles, now if they have admin access to that transaction, you may see all of them. Brittany, let's talk about that further because that's an interesting point, and we could probably walk you through some best practices so certain things aren't showing up to certain people. Email support, let's talk about that, and we can go deeper into that for sure. Okay, we have teams of TCs who work both on the who both work on the transaction. At the moment, we have to choose who's communicating by using the from drop down. Is there a way for everyone to work on it without having to choose themselves? There's one person assigned as the main person on a transaction. So one person assigned. I like the theory, and obviously you may do things differently, and I'm not trying to change your mind or anything, but I've seen it work really well for people that have a general email that goes out and the whole team works on it. So I'm like you, I like to have a team of TCs who work on the transaction. It may be 4, it may be 5. They're all responsible for different things throughout the transaction, but all my emails are coming from the transaction team. So that's the way I've handled it. Sending everything from the transaction team. When it comes back, you know, if that person's sick or that person's off or that person's whatever, it doesn't matter because the team is handling. Now, in your case where maybe you don't want to do that, yeah, the from option. Matthew, can you chime in on that? Because you've dealt with this quite a bit, right? On that, having one person assigned to the transaction and sending things from another person.
Yeah, it's a little complicated more from like the tech side. Shane would be able to speak to it better as to like why it works that way. It is based off of whoever the team user is. The system looks at that person as sort of the main point of contact, and that's why everything kind of flows through them. And that's not just like the email communication. It could be the APIs, the default settings. There's a lot of different, kind of pieces and facets. It might be something we could look into like as a future improvement, but I really we'd have to have Shane, I think, chime in on some of the more technical pieces there.
Cool. Yeah. So I would say if you're open to it, having that one email with the transaction team, that's been a lifesaver for us, honestly. That's just, then the client is always, they don't know who to yell at, right? No, I'm just kidding. No, but they know that you're working as a team. They feel like they're better supported. You can always have your name in there if you want, your main person. You can always delete out that name if you need to. There's a bunch of different ways to handle it. We can definitely mastermind on that if you want to go further.
Yeah, just to piggyback on that a little bit. So with your example of having just the one email, everybody could have their own email signature as well. So it might be coming from the same email, but then it says, Matthew, Andrew, whoever might be actually communicating at that moment on that message. So
yeah,
that's another thing.
That's actually great, Matthew. That's a better way. I like it coming from the transaction team and having one signature, because then you don't have to worry about reassigning signatures and whose signature is on it and all that. But if you do want to be more individual, having that one email, and you're asking what email system you use for that? Google. Yeah, I just use Google. And actually, you don't even have to, well, yeah, you probably do if you're going to use it this way. But a really cool thing about Google that I'll just kind of take a little side venture on here is you don't have to pay for extra emails with Google. I have a transactions at, I have listings at, buyers at, I have one that's AC at, that's my first initial, my wife's first initial. So if people want to send something to us, they can send it to both of us. And basically what it is it's called a group, and you can route that group however you want. So an email comes into transactions at, you can literally pick who that email goes out to. It could go out to 4 people. It's kind of like when you have a phone number, like on a lead system where it rings all the 4 phone numbers at one time. Same concept. It comes into the group, and the group tells it, where do I want to disseminate this email? I want to send it to Andrew. I want to send it to Matthew. I want to send it to blah, blah, blah. And you can send it to 99 people if you wanted to, if you had everyone in your Google account. So it's also a way to save some money. You could have one account in Gmail, like info at, and then you could have a bunch of groups. They all route the info at, but then you can have a bunch of filters set up so that if anything comes from transactions at, it goes to this folder. Anything comes to buyers at, it goes to this folder. Another little trick, and I won't go too much into detail, but you can have multiple inboxes in one account. So I have my account set up with 4 inboxes, or 5 inboxes. So then you can say anything going to transactions at, I want it to come to info at, but I want it to go to inbox number one. I know that's kind of confusing, but if you're interested in something like that, look up multiple inboxes in Gmail. And it's a really cool feature, and it saved us from having to buy multiple email addresses for our account. So, all right, we're getting a lot of questions, so I'm going to stop diverging from the actual questions here and get through some of these. Okay, so is there a way? Yep, so we answered that. Let me take that one out. Oh, what's happening here? Okay. Yeah, so if you want to discuss that whole coming from one person thing, feel free to reach out to me directly. I can give you some insight. I've been doing that for 12 years, something like that. So let's see here. Okay. Okay, if you are in a trial before the new plan's pricing was announced, is there a trial plan we can switch to so that we can explore the new functionality? Yes. You just have to set up a new account. Unfortunately, that's the only way to do it. There's no way to like backload that necessarily. There is, but it's very complicated. So I would say if you can, I would just scrap that account. Let support know. We will delete out your email addresses out of that one account. Now, if you've built anything in there, reach out to support and they may be able to get that stuff over to the new account, depending on what it is. So yeah, so we can definitely help you with that. Just reach out to support and tell them that you're looking to start a new trial and you need all your emails from your current account. Have your username, your email, some of that stuff present or readily available. They're going to need that information to be able to pinpoint what account you are. And Alicia, I actually had to talk to you anyway, so it'd be great if we could connect. If you could send me a private message on Facebook or somewhere, and I'll give you my number and we can connect because I had some other things I wanted to talk to you about. All right, cool. We have teams of TC. Oh, that was the old one there. Let me see. What do we got here? Okay, so. Okay. I'm still segmenting and dialing in my task templates. I have about 50 task lists. Bravo, I love it. I love to see 50 task lists. A lot of people think that's overwhelming, but it is going to save you a million hours in the future. I would just like to show what your task template looks like so I can get an idea if I'm on the right track with breaking up these tasks. Yeah, so think about it this way. All of the tasks that come into every single transaction for buyer, right? If you're representing a buyer, every single task that comes in, no matter what, doesn't matter if it's cash, it doesn't matter if there's septic on the property, solar, it doesn't matter if it's a foreign buyer, it doesn't matter if it's whatever. All the tasks that come in on 100% of the time on that transaction or that type of transaction, that is your base task list, right? Then you're going to have all these other ones broken up. If there's an HOA, then you need those HOA tasks, just the tasks that have to do with that. You have your ones for septic, ones for well, you have a separate task list for solar, you have a separate task list for FERPTA, you have a separate task list if there's an appraisal contingency on a cash deal. There's a separate contingency if there's no appraisal contingency on a finance deal. You know, there's all these little things that screw up our flow of our normal transaction, right? It'd be great if every transaction was the same, but as we know, they're very, very different on every single one. So all these little task templates, you're not even going to notice it, right? Because you're going to say in the intake form, if HOA was checked yes, so that's a question in your intake form. If HOA is yes, bring in my HOA fields, bring in my HOA tasks, bring in my HOA documents for compliance, bring in my HOA blah, blah, blah. So once they're in the transaction, you're not even going to notice because they're all going to be set by date. And so they're all going to intermix with each other. Okay, so let me just pop over there. It might be easier to see templates. We'll go to task templates. Actually, you know what? Let me go into a transaction. That might be a better way to do this. And actually, you can come up to history and I can get the last transaction that I touched and we'll just go into that one. And another thing you can do is under, I'll show you in a little bit. There's a quicker way instead of me having to click on task here. Okay, so in here, you can see right here, you can see all the task templates that were loaded into this transaction from my intake form or manually. So all of these are in there. If I just want to see this one, I can click on it and now it's going to filter down to just those 4. And then I can say, no, I want to see all my tasks again. And now all my tasks are, you know, from all these templates are all intermixed now because they're all by the date that they're due. Now you can also come over here. You can see which ones are active, which ones are completed, which ones I deleted. You have options here. Let's say I accidentally put in one of these templates. Let's go ahead and delete all of my SkySlope admin fees because this one was connected to .loop. I could check this and then it would, and then it's going to say, are you sure? And then you say yes. And so that's how you would do it. So everything that is a sum of the time task, those are the ones that you want to break out into other task lists. So I love that you have 50 already. That tells me that you're definitely on the right track. It's definitely something that's a little foreign to people because they're like, they usually have these monstrous task lists and then they're deleting out tasks that they don't need. When developing this system, that was one of my biggest annoyances in systems was that I had tasks in there that didn't apply to this transaction. So by using that intake form and the conditions in the intake form, now you can get exactly the right number of tasks loaded into your transaction before you even start, and it's automatic. Same thing with fields. I don't want to see fields for septic if there's no septic on the property. That's ridiculous that I have 300 fields in there when I only need to look at 40. So our system eliminates a lot of that. You're only seeing what you need to do. You can always manually add stuff here by adding a template if you need to later, if something comes up. And then if you're on the scale plan, you can automatically trigger things. So you can say, if I change this field to X, I want this template to come in. You can also do that through tasks, task triggers. You can say, when I check this off. So you could have no date in a couple of them, right? And it could be like, if there's a home warranty, check off this task. Well, in that case, I would check off this task. And in here, I would have a template being added. So when this task is checked off, I want you to add the home warranty task template. So you could do some stuff like that that you may not know right up front that we're going to have or not have. So we don't know if there's a home warranty typically until, sometimes we know up front on the contract, but sometimes it comes in after the fact. So what I would do is I would have one of these no date ones for home warranty, and I would probably color code it so it's easy to find. And then I would just come down here and say, boom, check it off. And now another template gets added for all my tasks that have to deal with a home warranty. So that's a good way to do it. Like if you have these milestone places where it's like the transaction could go this way or that way, and you're not going to know up front before you start the transaction, you can have two tasks, right? And let's say this is, I do have a home warranty. I don't have a home warranty. Well, you check one off and you delete the other one. And then you have a bunch of triggers in here that do the things necessary. So if I don't have a home warranty, well, there's nothing extra I have to do. So I can just delete that. But if I do have a home warranty, there's 6 things I have to do. I have to call the escrow agent. I have to make sure that the buyer does it by a certain date. I have to blah, 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 all these things. So those milestones and having 2 that are together are super helpful as well. And you can name them a certain way so that this is 1 of 2 or something like that. So just in case they get separated in the list, that you can still deal with them effectively. So hopefully that answered your question. I'm sure you're on the right path if you have 50 already. But if you want to go further into that, feel free to post another question up here and we'll get into it. Let's see here. Yeah, so you might be covering this, but could you talk about messaging on the scale plan? I'm in the wrong plan to go over that right now, but I can tell you just a generality of it. Messaging is a way that we are going to be harnessing. Well, I should say this. Messaging is something that we would like to get rid of email and text, right? But we don't want to put other obligations on the end user. So the client, we don't want to have to send them some message that they have to respond to in some other program because they're never going to do it. I don't even like when the title company sends me something and they say you have to log into our private portal. I'm like, no, thank you. I'm not going to do that because it just adds work. If I'm working with 100 different agents and I have to log into all these different portals, all it's doing is adding time to my day, and I'm just not willing to do that. So messaging is a little different. And messaging isn't fully built out, but it's built out enough right now that you can use it on the scale plan. In the future, what we're going to do is we're going to send it through text. We're going to send it through email. We're going to send it through push notification. So if the client's used to getting an email, it will still come to them as an email. When they respond to it in their email, that's fine. They think it's like an email, but really what it's doing for you is it's coming back, into the transaction so that you don't have to go sift through 300 junk emails to find that communication coming back into you. It's going to come back in this thread. So it's going to treat it almost like a Slack message, I'd say is probably the best way to describe it. And then you can manage the collaborators. So you can send this out to the client, or maybe there's 3 clients, all 3 clients, the escrow officer, the lender, like you can send messages kind of like an email to whoever you want. And those responses will come back in to your transaction. One of the other things you can do is look at the thread and see what the thread looks like. You can also like ping them, like if you can see if they've read it or not read it. And then there's a little ping button where you can resend that message to someone if they haven't read it yet. There's logs on who has read it and not read it here. You can archive this message, you can delete it. You can see that I want to mark this as read. I want to pin it to the top. There's so many things in here that are going to change the way that I personally do communication with my clients, because I don't like sending emails and looking through my email inbox to find those communications. So I apologize, I'm not in the right account to show you all the nooks and crannies of it, but that will give you a good idea, and then you can explore in your account. If you have that turned on, you can kind of play around with it, and feel free. Next week is going to be canceled. I want to mention that right now. Next week's Wednesday, Workshop Wednesday, is going to be canceled just because of the holidays, and I don't think a lot of people are going to be around. But on the next one, if you want to come to that, we'll definitely, I can log into that. I can have that second account ready to pull up if you can be on that one, and I'll go into it there. Okay, we are out of questions. Let's see here, what time is it? 12:36. So we got plenty of time left if you guys want to pull some more questions in there. Let me try to think of something that I can show you. DocuSign. I told you I'd tell you some differences between the Pro. We talked about the Grow to the Pro plan. The Pro plan, in there, you're going to have the DocuSign integration. So if you're in documents, this is the big one that people have been asking for. We got a couple of people that were, maybe mildly upset about the pricing, being on the Pro plan for DocuSign and, having to pay a little bit more. Just so you guys know, we get charged for these integrations. They're not free for us. So we get charged for every integration we have monthly or by usage. And so it's not cheap. If we put that on the base plan, we would make no money off of you. And so that's not the goal of our business. Our goal of our business is to make money. And so I apologize that we had to put that on the Pro plan, but unfortunately, when we looked at the financial aspect of it, there was just no way to put it on the base plan and for us to make any money at all. So just wanted to address that because we got a couple of people asking, why is this on the Pro plan? It should be on the Grow. And, that's why we get charged. Okay, so when you're in here for DocuSign, all you do is just choose the individual things here. You hit options and you hit DocuSign, pops up in this window. You can change this envelope name. You can change your profile. If you're working with 100 different agents and they all have different profiles they want you to work out of, feel free to add as many as you want. Here are the documents. Here are the people. You can rearrange them. If you want that signed document to come back in as an unapproved document in open to close, this is a huge time saver. I always check this button. Definitely do that. And then you can send reminders. Like if they don't sign it, how many days till the first reminder, how many days in between reminders, you can set that, build the envelope. What that's going to do is open up the new tab with DocuSign in it, and then you can apply any templates that you want or anything that you have custom in your DocuSign system. So let's see here. With integrations, have you thought about integrating with local MLSs to populate property data, old MLS? Yeah, we have. It is ridiculously expensive. And to have that with all, you know how many MLSs there are? Like it would sink us, honestly. We would have to raise our prices. And just the sheer maintenance of it alone has detracted us from wanting to do that. MLSs are always updating. It would be, I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze. If there's like a use case where you think that this is like a, an hour time saver, 2-hour time saver on every single transaction, feel free to message me directly. I'll take a look at it. We're always considering things and weighing options, but just in the past, what I've seen with MLSs is, I just don't think it's worth the money and raising everyone's prices and the extra time it would take to maintain those. We would have to have 4 separate people on staff probably to maintain MLS connections. So. DocuSign integration, is that just DocuSign or does it also include rooms? It does not include rooms yet. Yeah, that's all I'll say about that. DocuSign has been a venture to get that integrated. So In the future, will we consider DocuSign rooms? Yes, if there's enough people, they have a separate API for DocuSign rooms than they have for just regular DocuSign. So yeah, we can definitely look at that in the future if we have enough users on it and there's enough, we try to analyze everything by how many people is this going to affect. If we have enough users in DocuSign rooms that it's going to give a great effect to our customers, then we'll definitely consider it. DocuSign seemed to be the overwhelming favorite so far. I would love to add HelloSign and maybe Panda Docs or something in the future for some other options, but 80% of our users use DocuSign, and that's why we went that direction first. So, okay, I'm in the process of crawling and learning the system, so I set it up correctly the first time. I'm trying to learn the rules as best as I can. Would you build out property templates first or task templates first? I'm coming from real wealth, sure. So property templates are really for people doing manual transactions. So if I came in here and not using the intake forms. So if you plan on using the intake forms, and now let me say this, because I was talking to someone the other day and they're like, I'm not using intake forms because I'm a single TC. And I was like, I don't understand what I don't want to make my agents fill out a form. I'm like, well, it doesn't have anything to do with it. You can fill out the intake form, the TC can fill out the intake form, and it's still a much more efficient way to start a transaction than doing this new property and filling out everything manually. With the intake form, you can set it up so that the TC fills it out and still have all your automation coming off that. So you don't have to add templates manually. You don't have to add fields manually. You don't have to add all these other things manually. So just to address that, if anyone's on the call and they think that intake forms aren't for them because they don't want to send them to their agent, well, send it to yourself, have yourself fill it out. And you can do it right here. You don't even have to have an agent portal. You come in here and say intake form, we'll open all your intake forms. You can say process, you can fill it out yourself. That's going to give you so much time savings and automation on the front end of the transaction that it's so worth it. Now, if you are doing transactions manually now in your current system, yes, come over, do manually here and get used to it, but definitely have that intake form on the road. So to answer your questions, property templates are more for when you're doing when you're doing a manual transaction. You come in here and say, I want to choose this team, I want to choose this address, I want to choose this person, this agent. So property templates are a way to, in training 101, there may be a field template, a document template, all these templates, right? There may be like 10 of them in here. Here, let me grab this one because I think there's at least 4 in here. Yeah. So all these templates live within this one. So you don't have to manually go add this, add this, add this, add this, add this. It's like ridiculous that you would have to do all of these. So what we did was we put them in one big one where you say add demo sample, and it's going to go down and add, oh geez, there's a lot in here, 3, 6, 9, 10. So there's 10 of them that will get added just by adding this one. Now, if you're going to do intake forms, you don't need this because you're going to do it by fields. You're going to say, if well equals yes, then add my well template. If this is yes, add this. If this is yes, then add this. And so if you're using intake forms, then property templates really become a moot point. You're not going to use them. Use the intake form and the triggers in the intake form to do what you're trying to do. Now, if you are using these manual transactions, definitely look into doing your property templates, but you're going to have to wait until your task templates are done before you do them, because the task templates and the email or task templates and document templates and all that live inside of the property templates. You're not going to be able to do a full property template unless you have your task templates and your document templates and all the other templates done. Okay. Yeah, the order, and I have a little bit different. The implementation team, they're the best people to talk to about this. The way that I set up my system, I like to set it up contact roles, file roles, fields. Those 3 are my most important foundational items. And then I go to email templates and task templates. That's kind of the second tier of things that I'm setting up. I think that's fairly close to the way the implementation team recommends it as well. But yeah, you can definitely reach out to them if you're having any trouble on order of operations. And Joe, just so you know, I don't know if you've talked to the implementation team. I think you have, but those guys are from RealVolve, so they'll have some insight in this. Okay, cool. What are the benefits of Scale Plan over Pro? Oh my gosh, this is like an hour-long question. the scale plan is off the charts. It is ridiculous how powerful this is. Now, I do not recommend jumping into this right off the bat, but I'm just going to show you one feature. Actually, I'll show you two features that just make it ridiculously efficient. So if I come up here and I go to, and this is the way I run my business off the scale plan. I don't like having tasks as much as possible. Tasks mean I have to go into the transactions and check off task lists, which I don't want to do. I want to come over here to triggers and have trigger templates that come into my transaction. And what these would do is these would say, when I change this field from active to pending, what do I want to happen? I want this email to go out. I want this text to go out. I want this template to get added. I want this template to get deleted. I want these extra fields to get added. I want blah, 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 right? So you can have all these things happen just by changing one field. This is the power of the scale plan. It will blow your mind if you get good at this, because now you can turn your tasks into triggers. And now don't get confused. There's three types of triggers. Intake form triggers, okay, everyone has access to those. Task triggers, everyone has access to those, either 3 or unlimited, depending on what plan you're on, 3 per task or unlimited per task. And then these property triggers, these are the ones that take it to the next level. So this is only on the scale plan. So what you can do now is you can come in here and say, if I change this field and this document exists, send this email. Or if I change this field, or if this field's blank and this contact exists, send this text, send this email, do this, do that. No more task checking. I mean, yeah, you'll have some one-off tasks here and there, but like this will literally change your life, where the system is telling you when to do things instead of you telling it when to do things, which is a really cool thing once you get used to it. Now this one in particular, if I change the contract title to anything, if it's not blank, it's going to wait. It's going to be in my thing here, ready to go. And it's going to say, wait, 7 days before home inspection at 12:45 a.m. Okay, send. And so now, and we don't have the automatic send turned on yet because it's very destructive to people if they don't know what they're doing. So what happens is this actually goes into the ready to go or the health bar where you can manually send it, but it will alert you with this red that something is ready to go. So as soon as this time frame goes past, it's going to go up here, and then you can send all your emails at one time. Now, if you come down here, you don't have to have a time frame on it. It could be immediate. Let me see if I have one that's immediate here. As soon as this condition is true, and you may have 5 or 6 conditions, as soon as all these things are true, immediately tell me I need to send this email. Okay. So yeah, crazy efficiency there. The other thing that you get that's really cool is if you still do need to have tasks, now you can set conditional basis on the triggers inside the task. So you can say, when I check this off, send opening emails, now come in here and look at my conditions, and don't do all of these. Look at the conditions and make sure my conditions are true before I send this out. So if this was a buyer intro email, I'm checking off the task send opening emails. I may have a buyer, a seller, an escrow, an attorney, or whatever. Now in here, you could say, only if I represent the buyer, send this email. Only if I represent the seller, send this email. Only if I am working for the listing agent, send this text to the listing agent. So now you can go another layer deep and have a second layer of control on checking off tasks. Most tasks turn into triggers, but there's still that use case for tasks with conditional based stuff on there. We also have the ability on that plan to lock this. If I check this off, it'll say, wait a second, you told me that you had to have this document in the system and you had to have this contact added before you can check off this task. So it won't even let you check off the task until it does the things that you told it up front. Yeah. So I could go on and on about the scale plan. If you want to connect with me, I love to talk about the scale plan and how much it's changed my business. It's life-changing, honestly. Okay. Are you considering 2-step intake forms? Agent starts with limited info, TC does the rest. Yeah, I mean, we already have that. It's just in a different format. So when the agent fills out the intake form, then it comes over to the, let's see here. Oh, I'm sorry. I need to go to my dashboard. On your dashboard, it's going to have those intake forms that are ready to go that the agents have submitted. So here are all your intake forms. When I click on this, this means the agent already submitted it. And you can have your triggers fire on the agent side or on the TC side. Now, this is a really bad example because it only has one. But what the TC would see was a list of things that they need to fill out here. It's not in an intake form format. We're thinking about that for the future to have like 2 intake forms, basically. But right now the agent fills out the intake form and then you have like an intake list almost. So that's how it works. Once you're done with this list, filling it in, it's going to say it's ready to go. And then you create transaction or approve intake form. Once you approve that intake form, it turns into an actual transaction and starts loading all those things. So if you come up here, they don't have it in this one, but this would be your agent. All of your triggers that went off, they would be listed here from your agent submission. And then if you click here, here would be all your triggers that you set off by filling out that list that I just showed you in the approve intake form. Okay. So hopefully that answers your question, Alicia. Yeah, intake forms, there's a lot of growth coming in intake forms. We've been looking at quite a few things to make these better, and multiple intake forms coming into the same transaction, things like that. Now, with that, it gets really difficult because if you're bringing things in, what if you want to take it out? Like, what if, let's say you create a listing, right? And you want to change it to a contract to close. What I like to do is keep it on 2 separate transactions. That way, if the contract to close portion cancels, I cancel it, I go right back to the listing. It's in pristine form, ready to go. A lot of people like that in the same transaction. It presents a problem because if you have that second intake form coming into that transaction and it cancels, how do you get that data back out without having a bunch of mess that you're dealing with in your transactions? So anyway, we're working through all that stuff right now. And there's some other things coming that are highly, highly advanced automation that we're working on. Hopefully in the next 12 to 18 months, you'll see a lot of that stuff coming out. Also the mobile, that's one of our biggest things to work on this year. So our mobile app is going to be read and write versus just read only. So, okay. Agent portals, can we add affiliate links on the agent portal, i.e. home warranty companies? Well, let me think about this for a second. Can you clarify the question? Do you mean like payment modules, or do you mean like just adding the people that you like to use in there? Clarify that for me, and then I will, I can clarify that as well. Okay, oh yeah, recommendations, definitely. So cool thing about this is with smart blocks, you can actually have those recommendations filter right into the email. If, like, let's say on the intake form, you say, do you want us to recommend our people? Or do you want to recommend this person, this person, this person? They can say yes or no. You can actually have a smart block come into your email where you don't even have to retype or copy and paste or do anything. It'll just add those people. It'll say, and you know, if you don't have anyone you trust, here's a list of people that your agent wanted me to pass along. And it can literally just filter all those people in depending on the yes and no answers in that intake form. So there's some videos on that. If you go into the strategy video on email smart block smart groups, I think that's what it's called. There's a little place where I kind of describe that, and you can get really, really advanced on what comes in and what stays out. You can also do it by, oh, new agents. Okay. Sure. Yeah, you could do that. You could have it in your intake form. Honestly, that's the way I would probably do it, but there are some other ways. What you probably want to do is have fields that correspond to the market center, the agent, the team, you know, break it down that way. So now you can trigger things off that. If they're with this market center and they're with this team, then I want this paragraph to come in this email. If they're with this market center, I want this compliance packet to come into the transaction. If they are this particular agent, he wants an extra line put in the end of this email saying whatever. And so those smart blocks can give you a lot of flexibility in the way you're setting things up so that you don't have separate templates for every single email that, or I'm sorry, separate templates for every single agent that you work with. Okay. And in the future in the app, there probably will be some white labeling type options that we explore to see if maybe you can post people up in the app or something like that. Obviously, white labeling is a little expensive and it's a huge time suck for developers. So something that we are looking at, but not on the immediate roadmap for sure. Okay, will there ever be a website agents can go to fill out the intake form versus having to log in?
Hey, Andrew, I don't want to interrupt, but that's one thing. One of those goals is to have those work together as well. So
what's that?
I think I froze up a little bit. With the messenger and the mobile app, improvements we want to work on, making it read and write. One of those goals is to have like the push notifications and have the messengers features interact and work seamlessly with the mobile app that we're going to be improving.
Oh,
So
yeah, messaging will actually be one of the key components, honestly, in the mobile app, because that's a way for your clients to communicate back and forth. And if they do want to download the app, not everyone's going to want to do it, right? So that's the reason for the push to email and push to text. But especially for your agents, if you're an independent TC, you're working with the same agent all the time, have them download the app, because now you guys can communicate and it all is contained in the transaction. So for auditing purposes, it's amazing. And you don't have to track stuff down on your phone and your email and here and there. It's all in the transaction. So yeah, thanks for mentioning that. So will there ever be a website agents can go to fill out intake forms versus having to log in? So here's the problem with that. A lot of the websites that you guys currently probably go to are not very secure, and you probably don't even know it. There are certain ways to spam software programs and blow up their servers, basically. And the login is the way to protect against that. And so when you have like I won't mention any names, but let's just say there's programs out there that are they're not very secure, and you could do some malicious things with them if you knew how to do it. And so having the agent log in is our way of keeping your data very safe, keeping hackers off the program, just taking an extra steps towards security. I know it's a pain. I wish we could make it more out there, but honestly, security is one of our biggest components of the program, and being able to tell you truthfully that your data is secure is very, very important to us. And so, no, not anytime soon. I'm sorry to say that, but not anytime soon. They're going to have to log in to fill out those forms. If we can figure out a secure way to do it, we will do it. But as of yet, we just haven't found that way. Okay, is there a way to have all table text centered in the middle of the cell so it's uniform? Let me look. I don't even know what you're talking about. So I'm going to learn something new today. Let's go to my property. Oh, you mean instead of having this one left justified, this one in the middle, this one? Okay. I don't know. To answer your question, that's the first time I've ever been asked that. I don't know who this is. This is anonymous, but if you want to put your name in there, I can definitely follow up with you, or Hannah can follow up with you once we ask the developers why it's like that, for sure. Yeah, I don't mind asking them and figuring that out for sure.
And we also have this really great section. I just like to always throw it out there for the idea lab, helps us keep track of these different ideas that, I mean, everybody has a lot of great ideas. It just takes time to just that.
Yeah, I think Matthew, you cut out a little bit, but the gist of that was, here's a good place to put all your ideas. Every quarter when we're doing our roadmap planning, we are looking at these. So we're looking at all these and saying how many people, and then sometimes we'll send you a survey. So if you see a survey come through, it's probably just because we're vetting this and seeing what percentage of our clients are actually going to use this. And then that's how we base off, how much impact is it going to have? So I'll take you through kind of the way we think about things. How much automation impact is it going to have? How much time is it going to save you during the day? That's the number one thing. How much time is it going to save you? Number two, is it going to impact the agent and client experience where they're going to have a better experience working with you? That's number two. Number three is how many people is it going to impact? And honestly, once we get past those three, it's kind of, is the juice worth the squeeze type of thing, where we're looking at like, how are these things going to impact you personally? Is it going to save you time? Is it going to give you more vacation time with your family? Is it going to give you the ability to work more transactions per month so you can make more money and have a good retirement plan? Those are the things we're looking at when we're analyzing these things. So yeah, definitely, like Matthew said, put those in the idea lab. We do look at these every single quarter and analyze these. So it is important. If we don't know, it's not going to be considered. So definitely put those in. Okay, will closed transactions data be accessible through a contacts on the app in the future? Yeah, I believe so. So the way that it's going to look in the app is probably, and I don't know yet because we're not finished with all the UI design and functionality of it and anything like that. But you should be able to see like a list of this gorilla is actually a contract status. Don't let that confuse you. But this, or I'm sorry, it's like a seller. So like, just imagine the seller. You can see if it's a seller, a buyer, a dual, or whatever that status is. So it will probably I should say, it will most likely have something like this in it where you can get a connection point to all of your tables and segments in some fashion. But great suggestion though. And like I said, Idea Lab is great. And if you want to put mobile up front of your Idea Lab suggestions, I'm going to be going through those pretty heavily over the next month. That is one of our projects that we are actually going to get in development soon. And yeah, mobile is really important to us and giving you guys the ability to work on the go and be able to do limited functionality. Obviously, this program is very complex, and so we're not going to be able to have everything in mobile, but we want to be able to get you the easy stuff. Like if you're sitting there waiting to pick up your kids from school, you should be able to send an email. You should be able to send a text. You should be able to initiate a task, something like that. So, will choosing the scale plan now affect how our current transactions look and operate? No, they will not. But going from the scale plan back to the pro plan may, depending on what you have built out. So let me give you an example. And this is a warning we're going to put up on there. I was just talking to the development team this morning about this. Let's go to, oh, and here's one other thing I was going to show you. If you're in this history and you come here, like if I can actually go to my tasks right here. I don't have to actually click in the transaction and then click on tasks. I can just go tasks and it's going to open up the task for that transaction. So it saves you a couple of clicks there. When you're in this is even better one, when you're over here in the properties and you click on this little database symbol, this little stacked chips or whatever, it gives you a bunch of options. So if I just want to pull up my documents and I'm like, I just want to see one document, pull it up, deal with that document, close it out, you're right back to where you were. We're trying to eliminate clicks here. So anything to eliminate clicks saves you a lot of time, especially when you're adding those up over the course of a year. So let's go back to those tasks here. And I'm going to show you what happens if you go from the scale plan, right? And let's say you have a task and it's send opening emails. And in that send opening emails here, you have an email to the buyer and you have an email to the seller, or let's just say that this is a buyer transaction. So we have one to the buyer, we have one to the escrow agent, we have one to the buyer's agent, we have one to blah, blah, blah. And you come down here and add these conditions in here. Okay. So when I check off this task, it's first going to check these conditions to see if I should send this email out. When you reduce your plan from scale to pro, these conditions go away. You don't have access to conditions on the pro plan. So now when you check off that task, all of these go out regardless of what you had in there as a fail safe. So you need to pay attention to some of that stuff when you're downgrading. This is probably the biggest one that you need to pay attention to. Is those task conditions. So what I would do is if you upgrade to scale and you think, well, I don't know how long I'm going to be on this, I would actually copy or clone your current templates into a scale plan template and then try it out. Make sure you like it first before you go changing all of your plans, only to have to come back in here and change all of your plans again. So that's just the one thing I would watch out for. But no, if you go from pro to scale, it's just stuff becoming unlimited commissions, unlimited reporting, triggers, all these cool things that with automation become unlimited and more features for you to choose from. We currently use the task pipeline. Will that stay the same when we adjust to the new task system? So yeah, it will stay the same, but you get an added bonus when you're on the scale plan, and that is the trigger pipeline. And the trigger pipeline is all of your triggers for all of your transactions at one time, similar to the task pipeline where you can see all of your transactions in here and the things that are due. Well, this one's just for, get rid of that filter. So this is all my transactions and how many tasks I have to do. Well, I don't have many in here, but anyway, let's just act like I have these all built out. Same thing with the trigger pipeline. Now you have all of your triggers that are ready to go today, fast due, immediate, blah, blah, blah. And you can come in here and send these from here. So you can see any of the ones, maybe you forgot to put a subject line or you forgot to put a whatever, they'll show you any ones with errors in them that you'll be able to parse these down and save snapshots. So you can come back easily to these. So yeah, not only does the task pipeline stay the same, but you get an added bonus of having this trigger pipeline as well, which is pretty incredible, honestly. It's a real time saver. So, oh, we are over. I didn't even notice. Thank you for all the questions. That was great. We were just kind of plowing along there. So I appreciate everyone being on here. If you have any additional questions, always feel free to reach out to support. That's help@opentoclose.com. You can also hit the little purple widget down on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. I know you guys, your time is valuable, so I really appreciate you being on here. And not next week, we are canceling next week, but the week after we will be back, same time, same place. Have a great holiday and reach out to us with anything you need. Have a great day.